Welcome back to another episode of the Just Jana Show. I am Jana Stern, and today we are diving into a beautiful reading that I gave to my friend Carrie when we were in the jungle. When Carrie opens the conversation, you'll hear her ask three very important and poignant questions for her life. She is just entering a very important phase of her life that is an interesting coinciding that happens often at the same time. She's become an empty nester in the beginning of her second Saturn return. So there is all this open spaciousness and this intense limitation that is being shown to her. Where has she been in the restriction of her own reality? And where is the spaciousness of not having her children at home leading her to? She also asks a very important question about her finances and her capacity to live and live well in the world and what exactly to do with her assets. So, if you're somebody who's a little bit concerned about the finances of the world right now, you definitely want to stay tuned for this episode. As you listen, you'll hear that Carrie really built her whole identity on the job she was doing, the career she had created, the parent, the role of mom, and who she has been till this point. And actually, it's the freedom, the openness, the expansive possibility for her that has her asking so many questions. You'll hear that Carrie does something that I've seen thousands of people do, and that is should herself. What I mean by that is rather than observing what is happening and allowing it to unfold exactly as it needs to based on her design, based on who she is and how it's unfolding, she instead holds this belief of how it should be and then lets the should inform her value, lets the should inform her capacity. And so you'll hear me in the reading really break down how she is shoulding herself and the ways in which she can move outside of that limitation. You'll even hear a bit of a quiet shame that she has quite an enviable life, traveling the world, leading retreats, doing all kinds of wonderful, beautiful things, and that there's a part of her that's not exactly sure how to enjoy it because she's so busy shoulding herself that there is no space for enjoyment. She asks the money question, but really it's an identity question. The money, as I talk about, is energy. What's there is the enoughness that seems to be in lack for her. In this episode, you'll hear me break down a little bit more about what our Saturn return is all about. So if you're in that 28 to 30 range or in the 55 range, you are absolutely experiencing this beautiful experience right now of the Saturn return. And Saturn has many beautiful lessons. It is the limitations of our reality. It is the boundary of self and of truth. And it helps us to understand where we limit ourselves, where we stand in our own way that stops us from being able to go beyond what the mind tells us. In the last episode, I shared a little bit about energy practitioners who take and energy practitioners who give. And in this episode, I embody the example of somebody who gives, which is to say, there is a question that Carrie asks me very directly, and I tell her, I cannot give you that truth. I cannot give you the answer because the answer is within her to sort. An important message of this whole episode is that not knowing is not failure. It is the purpose of the journey. It is the purpose of what is unfolding for Carrie in her life right now. You'll hear me remind her that the freedom that she is experiencing is something that she has earned. It's not something that was given, and that her discomfort is guilt. And it is serving to disrupt that signal within her that has the inner knowing that she does deserve this freedom. What I do very clearly in this episode is show her how Saturn is not just a limitation, but it's actually the revelation. It's not a punishment. I invite her to visit where the should is actually informing in all three of the questions she's asking, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. I actually refused to answer one of the questions that she asks because I know that her seeking those answers for herself within herself is actually more helpful than me handing her the answer on a platter. I reframe that money question as an energetic question, not one about scarcity, but rather one about actually managing and exchanging and connecting her energy to new possibilities. I hold up the mirror and show her in the blind spot how the coach needed coaching, how the empty nest coach is now empty nesting and she needs a little bit of guidance. In the static versus signal quiz that you can access in the episode notes, Carrie is an avoider. She says, I just don't know what's next, which to me says that she can't access her direct action. She can't access the signal. She says the retreats haven't been filling for years, which means that she's been getting the message within, this ain't right for you, girl, stop. And she's been avoiding that reality. She says, I have a lot of energy. I just don't know what to do with it, which is that her static is just making so much noise. She doesn't even know where to channel the energy. She says, there must be some old tape that's making me feel shame, which to me says that the static in her signal is not even nameable. She's avoiding it so much. Carrie is having 25 years of identity stripped away from her as she becomes an empty nester and shifts her career. And these are huge changes in anybody's life. She has this intense should static and a guilt static that are just creating all this buzz, all this noise, all this confusion that is not allowing her to see clearly the path forward for her. She has a dynamic with a business partner that is somewhat confusing, somewhat distracting from her capacity to actually face things head on. And she's got anxiety that also adds to that static, adds to that chaos and confusion. Even the way she says, I'm really happy, I'm really in flow, tells me that she's performing some of the contentment while avoiding the fact that she is not actually happy in the things that she's doing. When she says, I have a ton of concern about the US banking system, to me, that's like, okay, but you're avoiding where the energetic fear is there for you, where your own fear of control or lack thereof is present. When she says, those who can't do teach, I've got this, but maybe not so much, to me, that is clear that she is self-aware of the avoidance, but she's just kind of like laughing past it. And of course, the dynamic with her business partner, just simply avoiding the hardest conversations, the deeper things, and the things that need uncovering and the depth that needs to be reached in order for the cohesion to be possible. This is classic avoidance behavior, and it is compounded by the should. It is compounded by the belief that the way she is doing it is not good enough, and she should fill in the blank. And because she isn't doing the should, she's avoiding. The ways that I call out her avoiding tactics are by pointing out what it is that she is avoiding. I didn't let her stay in the doing. I give her new purpose to actually execute and redirect her into being. I name her avoidance without calling it avoidance. I call it shoulding. The two are synonymous, but it allows her to actually move beyond avoidance into what is not just the symptom, but what is below the symptom. What is the energetics behind the way she is behaving, behind the avoidance? Carrie is a typical high-functioning, self-aware coach who avoids the things within herself that have the biggest challenge. It is so much a part of being human, and it is such an important medicine for us all to listen to this and to hear the ways that we might be mirroring this for ourselves. If you're clear that you don't necessarily avoid, but you're not clear on what the things are that you're doing that might be in the way of getting your intuitive truth and moving you beyond your own questions and your own limitations, your own shoulds. I encourage you to go ahead and click that link in the episode notes that says Confused Static versus Clear Signal Quiz. Go ahead, take the quiz, and find out what it is that you are doing that has you distracting from the real possibility of living in your full being. I hope you enjoy this reading with Carrie, and feel free to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section below. Ask your questions. I will be answering them in a future episode. I am so grateful.
So I know you have like a lot that's been cooking and a lot that's been going on. And I can feel already that you're in the emotion of it. Yes. That's why the energetic boundaries that you've been feeling have been present in this moment. You've been feeling when you came down the stairs, I was in my space. You were like, whoa, can I come in here? Right? And then you stepped in and I was like, hold on, there's still stuff because I can feel what's happening for you. So this is just a quickie. We're just doing this in the here and now for a little while, just, for show, but for you. So you had said to me earlier that you've got like a question or something that's pressing. So I want to say if there's more than one question, ask them or ask them in succession, and let's get some answers for you to the best of my capacity. Do you want to give the context of like what you've already shared with me?
I can add to that as well.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I retired from my corporate career 4 years ago. I sold a retreat center 2 years ago that I was running. And then I empty nested this past September. I have been running retreats around the world for 12 years, yoga and most recently Pilates retreats. I've been teaching yoga, doing workshops. I've moved to Mexico for the last 7 months and used this year to really settle into my new chapter, this new state of normal. I had my annual chart done, and my chart is like off the hook, powerful. And I'm not in that energy. I'm not in that space. I've spent these last 7 months really healing and really settling into this new presence of my life. And I know I'm in my Saturn return, and I just don't know.
Second one.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know what is next for me. Like really, truly struggling with my life purpose. I've been raising kids for 25 years. I thought it was running retreats. That hasn't been fulfilling for me for probably 2 years, if I'm being really, really honest. And I'm not done. I'm definitely not done. I have a lot of energy, and I just don't know what is next. I thought I was going to be traveling the world, and I don't even feel like doing that anymore. I'm really feeling grounded in Mexico. I'm really happy. I'm really content. I'm really in flow. But I'm not really certain of what I'm supposed to be doing with this next chapter of my life. And then aside, I have this project in Costa Rica that consumes a lot of my emotional energy, but not a lot of my time. And I have a partner here, and when we're not emotionally connected, things don't move in a straight line. And then if there's a third area of concern is I have a ton of concern about the United States, the state of our banking system, and what do I do with my assets? But that's just like that's just a little bonus question.
Don't we all?
Like, do I put it in my mattress? Do I bring it to Mexico? What do I do? That's it. Just those little questions.
Our Saturn return, the first one is about like, where is the limitation, right? That's what Saturn is. Saturn is boundaries. It's patriarchy. It's the structure of our existence. Saturn used to be the end of the universe for us as a species. And so when we go through an experience with Saturn, whether that is Saturn transiting our sun or square our moon or whatever the transit is, right now you're having a Saturn return. It's coming back to where it was at the time of your birth. So it's going over itself. It's showing you all of the things that are limited. And we tend to experience Saturn returns because they transit for a long time. We tend to experience them in phases, as in it's been this feeling of 2 years of discontentedness is Saturn starting to make its appearance for you. If you've got Saturn in Aries, which you obviously do because Saturn is in Aries right now, and you're an Aries sun, which means Saturn and Aries are conjunct. They're in the same, I don't know if they're exactly conjunct. I haven't looked at your chart, but they're in the same sign. And so there is this energy of yourself also being very, very, very boundaried and limited, constricted, like kind of held down by something that is probably been with you your whole life because Saturn and your sun work together. Again, I don't know what else is happening in that house and what else is going on, but I do have this feeling that that's been ever present. And we've sort of talked about it a little bit in the past 3 days that we've known each other. This Saturn return is often more about, to this point, what are the limitations that have been put upon me that actually don't really fit the identity? So perhaps in trying to break out of a norm, you went far because Saturn and your sun work together. You're like, fuck a boundary. I don't need any of that. I'm going to choose something different. I'm going to create it in an Aries kind of way. Me, 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 me. Look out for me. Are my needs met? The baby cries because the baby has needs. Yay for babies crying. That's what Aries is, the baby of the zodiac. It's important that in this time of this return, and it's just begun for you, right? Saturn just moved into Aries. There's time that it's going to be in this sign. And the gift of Saturn is that you get to really, really, really understand where your own mind limitation lives, because we convince ourselves of reality, of the boundary that exists outside of our physical boundary of our skin. But the truth is that, like, you can make it all up. Part of what's been happening is that you've been telling yourself, but I should. And should, whether that's I should be breaking the boundary, be breaking the barrier, be changing the story of what normal looks like, of how one should be this or should be that, how spirituality is understood, how yoga should be taught, how one should live. However, all those things have all been showing up. Or if it's the, I should be this kind of mom, I should be this kind of a partner, I should be this kind of a sister, I should be this kind of a fill in the blank daughter, whatever it is. All those stories, whether your whole family is beyond or in physical, they're still living in you. And so the message, the like lesson right now with Saturn is, can you allow yourself to just stretch into, it's okay to not should myself anymore? And then observe what arrives, right? What comes up when you're no longer in should? And then, you know, the question that you were asking about your business here, there's an awful lot of should in that business. There's an awful lot of I should be more physically present. I should be more emotionally connected. I should do this. I should do that. I'm going to invite you to notice where your shoulds are in that dynamic and in that whole project, and really assess how much the project is nourishing you. And if it doesn't really nourish you, if it feels like something that's very Saturnian, allow for whatever it is that makes you feel constricted to just breathe into it, to like allow a little bit of expansion, allow a little bit of growth and stretching there. The last question you asked, it's the one you guys are waiting for, about your money and the system. I do my best not to future predict. And something's changing. Something is changing, clearly, out there. And my best advice on it is that money is energy. And one of the clearest things about the fault or the holes in the aura of the collective energy is a lack of appreciation of diversity. Everybody is in the very, very me, 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 me. And there's a lot of concern about me and what I am doing and what I have. And where collective energy is healed is in the we, in the us. So do your tzedakah, do your giving. Make sure that you're providing for others and have a very diversified portfolio. Make sure that your money is both in the mattress, in the bank, in the crypto, in the gold, you know, in the community, in the people, in your heart. Spread the energy and don't be afraid of the dollars. The dollars are make-believe. We made them up and we agreed on them, but that would be my guidance on that. Any other questions for me? Any feedback you might have on that?
It all sounds good. It gives me something to focus on for the next little bit. It doesn't answer the larger question.
What's the larger question?
What am I supposed to be doing with my one precious life?
Living it.
Yeah. Okay.
Just enjoying it, like allowing for curiosity, allowing for whatever that diversity and expansion is without trying to should it. There is no specific. I can't give you that answer. And even if I gave it to you, you'd be like, either Jana said, so I have to, or you'd be like, fuck that bitch. I'm not going to listen to anything she says. I'm going to do the opposite. And you're an Aries, so it would probably be that one. And like, then you wouldn't get to enjoy it because somebody told you what to do. I can't tell you what to do, honey. You got to figure it. You got to find it. And if you need the support, I'm like here and, available for the long haul if you want to go in that direction. But you got to sort it out. And I'm here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Love you. As you can see, Carrie's questions were deep and profound, and they absolutely gave her the capacity to get the opening to some of the answers that help her to get the sovereignty to arrive at the most important answer. What am I supposed to do with my big, beautiful life? It's a big question. And as I said, not one for me to give the answers to, but really one for her to uncover over the next couple of months and years of her life as she unfolds, becoming an empty nester full time and moving into all the new realms of business and possibilities that are opening up for her now that her limitations and restrictions are being shown to her through the Saturnian lesson. I hope you enjoyed this episode and this reading. Please do feel free to leave your comments and questions below. There will be a new episode coming very shortly where I'm answering your questions. So feel free to comment them in wherever it feels good. Send us an email. We are so grateful. This reading allowed Carrie to see how being just Carrie is exactly perfect without needing to should herself, without needing to do anything different than she's already doing. All she needs to do is let herself be just Carrie. I am Just Jana, and this has been another episode of the Just Jana Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. You've just listened to the Just Jana Show. Whether you sat with me through a live reading or just let me talk my shit to camera, I hope something I called out landed for you. Share with me the one thing that shifted or a question you've got in the comments, or send this episode to someone who deserves to stop shrinking their light. If you're enjoying this kind of energetic reprogramming, please like and subscribe. If you want me to read beneath the surface of your life, apply to be a guest and get a live on-air reading at the link in the show notes. I'm Just Jana, and I'll see you next time.